The Russians now believe that it was, in fact, a Muslim terrorist bomb that brought down their jetliner. The United States government launched a Trident missile off the coast of Southern California. Did you hear about this? And so much more in the news. Some really bad stuff coming out of Germany. And Trump, did he actually make the Saturday Night Live appearance? I believe that was him. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
As of this taping, the Russian government has suspended all flights from Russia into Egypt. England also suspended flights. So the numbers were, I believe, 79,000 Russians that are in Egypt right now. That's a lot of Russians in Egypt. And a whole bunch of Brits were there as well. Last news was that there was a lot of tension at the airport. At first, everyone was going to be put up for free and they were going to do these airlifts out of there. And then, no, some of the deals began to fall apart. We hope the best for these travelers and hope that no more bombs go off. God have mercy. It was the Muslim, or it was actually Muslims who did it. And the group is affiliated with ISIS, and they have taken credit 3 times. They're like, hey guys, we did this. Guys, over here, we did this. Yeah, it's us, we did this. And Russia was so frantic to say, no, this wasn't a terrorist attack, it was some kind of a malfunction. They found the black boxes, and there was in fact the sound of an explosion, the end, and American satellite imagery picked up a flash from the airplane when the bomb went off, and those souls were dispatched into eternity. They're following the shadow. They're living in the shadow of Muhammad. All right? You and I, as Americans, do not get to pick what Islam is, any more than you or I get to pick what the Catholic Church is. I mean, you could sit there and go, the Catholic Church is going to ordain women, and the Catholic Church should have women altar servers in full adulthood, and the Catholic Church should allow openly gay priests, and no, and no, okay? It's not going to happen. You don't get to pick, okay? Because you are not the Catholic Church. I don't get to pick because I am not the Catholic Church, okay? We can be in it or out of it, but we don't get to pick what it is. It is defined by its own dogmas as Roman Catholic bishops and pontiffs understand the scriptures, okay? The end. We don't get to pick Islam. We don't get to pick what Islam is or is not. The end. They get to pick based upon their scriptures, based upon their historic record of Muhammad's life. I have friends who say to me regularly, but Randall, what about Muslims who don't want to hurt us? What about Muslims who just want peace? And you know what my answer to them is? Oh, you mean the bad Muslims? Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? Jihad is a part of how Islam is spread. If you want to do your own research, you can read the books that I'm constantly telling you about on this program. You can read Ibn Ishaq, Al-Tabari, Ibn Kathir. You can buy them. You can buy Sahih Muslim, the hadith collector of Muslim, or Sahih Bukhari, the hadith collector. Tons of hadiths. Don't read a book that somebody wrote 4 years ago about Muhammad. Read their respected biographies. Read the narrative. Read the storyline. So if you studied the life of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and you just poured over her life, and you're a young girl and you're 16, 17, 18 years old, what do you think reading the biography of her life written by those closest to her, or reading her diary? They actually took some of her writings and have put them in books, okay, about her struggles, the dark night of the soul, times when she was like felt like God had abandoned her, but she kept going on serving people in the name of Jesus. If you're a 16, 17, 18-year-old girl and you read these biographies, what kind of impact do you think they have on your soul? There will be some girls who go, I want to be a nun. I want to be like Mother Teresa. I want to serve the poor. I want to lay down my life on a foreign mission field for the cause of Christ. All right, that's the impact. And so if a 16, 17, 18-year-old male reads the biographies of Muhammad and sees all these glorious stories of Muhammad prevailing in battle and cutting people's heads off and ordering those who mock him to be killed and permitting his soldiers to rape women, what do you think is going to happen to that young man? Thanks to friends like you, we have state-of-the-art cameras and state-of-the-art teleprompters and state-of-the-art gear here in the studio. We have one big need, however. We have not yet been able to upgrade our computers. The computers that we use for a television broadcast or to create a documentary are not like the kind that you can just go buy at Best Buy. They are expensive because it takes so much horsepower to create TV series and or documentaries. So I'm asking you, if you want to see this show grow and you want to see us finish the What Would Muhammad Do series, help us get these computers. 3 computers that we need right now are going to be just shy of $20,000. That's the kind of horsepower that we need. Go to the GoFundMe page you see right there. Watch the pilot for What Would Muhammad Do? And if you like the show, give us a gift. The Maronite Patriarch of Antioch, all right? That's a lot of words. Antioch is a very old Christian city, as you know. And the Maronites are a sect of the Catholic Church, or a part of the Catholic Church. They have married priests, by the way. Their bishops can't be married. So anyway, this man's name is Cardinal Becerra Boutros al-Rahi, all right? And he did an interview that has people flipping out, anyone who's paying attention, all right? Listen to this. I have often heard from Muslims that their goal is to conquer Europe with 2 weapons, their faith and their birthright. I beg your pardon. Their faith and their birthrate. He goes on in this interview. He says, they think that numbers will give them the upper hand. This is a man who has seen in Syria thousands and thousands of Christians be martyred, be killed, horrific crimes committed against women, seen sacred sites blown up. And he goes on to talk about saying, look, we need to stop ISIS. We need to stop them. And the people in Europe need to rethink what's going on. Europe's states quarrel with each other about the number of refugees to be admitted, but is doing nothing to end the conflict. He's saying, look, people in Europe, you guys, you have to understand what's happening. If you keep letting this happen, more and more Muslims are just going to pour over the borders into Europe, and they're going to take Europe out. Europe will no longer be even a vestige of Christendom. Europe will become the new Islam, just by virtue of the birth rate. He goes on to chide Christian men and women who hardly get married anymore, and then when they do get married, they practice birth control and don't have children. I think France, Germany, and England, forgive me if I'm wrong, 2 of the 3 have a negative birth rate. A negative birth rate. What that means is they are not having enough children. Married couples are not having enough children to keep the population at its current level. This is the time when I should talk about what a blessing babies are. Lord, have mercy on us. God, have mercy on us. Children are the heritage of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is his reward. Children are not a curse, friends. They're not a curse. They're a blessing. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. Well, my quiver's full. I've got 1 baby. What man would go into battle with 1 arrow? Anyway, I digress. So he has put his neck on the chopping block. by saying this. We need to pray for his safety because it's very possible that he could be killed. Because he's telling, it's not, the Muslims saying, yeah, we want to have babies. I don't know what's wrong with you Christians. We want to have babies. And we're going to have our babies take you over when they grow up. And the demographics, it won't be long, people. Here's another story out of Germany. I'm going to read it, okay? Put it on the screen for me, Billy Bob. Residents in the German town of Ellwangen are reporting that thousands of migrants who recently arrived are defecating on people's gardens, staging riots in church, and stealing from local stores while police in the area struggle to cope with disorder. This is all documented and literally going in and disrupting church services. Well, why? Because Muhammad said towards the end of his life that Christians were polytheists. Polytheism is a no-no in Islam, okay? It's a crime against God. Because we say that God is one God, three persons in the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that we are polytheists, okay? Theology was not Muhammad's strong point. I'm going to tell you that right now. It was clearly not a strong point for any of his immediate circle. These were not educated men. So they think they're doing God a service to go in and disrupt Christian liturgies because we're worshiping like polytheists as far as they're concerned. And they're putting signs up all over saying, please stop going to the bathroom in our gardens. Use toilets. They're going into stores and stealing, and the store managers keep calling up the police, and the police are saying, look, we're not even coming over anymore. Just make a record of what they have stolen and then submit it to the municipal government locally, and we'll get the government to reimburse you. Are you hearing this? They're literally going to allow people to keep stealing because they don't want to put them in jail. They're being overrun, folks. And they're going into small towns. This town has 23,500 people. Almost 5,000 refugees have come there. Okay? That's more than a 20% increase immediately overnight. They're being overrun. And there's a report of one woman who was raped. There was another tweet who came from another city, a small town in Germany, where there were 6 women raped by the immigrants, by the Muslims who came in. All kinds of petty crime and violent crime. They're being overrun. All right? I've got problems with Russia. I've got problems with Putin. But boy, you and I had better thank God that he is bombing the snot out of them, because Obama's not. And we've got to break the back of ISIS, people. We've got to break their back. We've got to kill them. Not take them as prisoners. Let's learn our lessons from Gitmo, all right? We put these terrorists down in Guantanamo Bay, and when we release them piecemeal, what do? They go back and join up with more terrorists to kill more Americans. We need to kill these people. Kill them. Kill them all. ISIS, we need to kill them all. I know it's harsh. I know that's not Jesus. That's not how Christianity. No, it is. It is. It's about just war. The great saints, the great minds of Christianity have held that just war to protect the rights and the lives of individuals, of the innocent, certainly to protect the church from annihilation, that it is legitimate. And for those of you who think, well, I don't know about all this, you better thank God for the Crusades. Because if the Crusades had not worked, if we had not stopped Islam at Vienna and beaten them in the Battle of Lepanto, we'd all be speaking Arabic and be saying Allah Akbar. Okay? God help us. Thank God. And I got to take a break. Ponder it. Don't be dismissive. Ponder it. If you can't speak Arabic, thank the Crusades. Christians must be involved in government, period. If Christians weren't involved in government, we would not have a United States of America. And there have been brilliant Christian minds over the centuries, such as John Locke, who is called the philosopher of American liberty. He was quoted by Clarence Thomas in his recent dissent on the homosexual marriage decision. If we don't understand John Locke, we don't understand the founding of America. I want to send you this book and my book, The Sword, subtitled The Blessing of Righteous Government and The Overthrow of Tyrants. I want to send you these two books for a gift of whatever you can afford. Pay the $8 shipping and handling, which does not cover our costs, and then give a gift of whatever size you want, and we'll send you these books. If you cannot afford anything but the $8, can't even afford that, write us a note, and we'll send them to you for free. I want you to have these books so that you can be better equipped to fight in the political arena. Come on, order them today. Friend, off camera, I started thinking, I've got to help people to think and to distinguish, to separate Islam from Muslims. Now, at some point, you cannot separate Islam from Muslims, but considering, or rather, when you ponder and study a worldview or a theological blueprint, that is Islam. I'll use the Catholic analogy again. You can study Catholicism, and then you can look at individual Catholics. And sometimes individual Catholics don't reflect the Catholic Church very well. Or you could look at Charles Spurgeon and Baptists, right? And you could study Baptist theology and the history of the Anabaptist movement. And then you could look at people who claim to be Baptists. And some of those Baptists don't live like good Baptists, okay? Same with Assemblies of God. You can study Methodism. Study the incredible history of John Wesley, Charles Wesley, the fights between him and Whitefield, George Whitefield, arguably one of the greatest preachers of the Great Awakening in America. It's a fascinating history. You study Methodism, and then, oh, look at the Methodists. Look at what some of these Methodists are doing. They're involved in killing children and child killing and abortion. So when we talk about Islam, we're talking about a body of thought that is fixed. Muhammad said that God told him, "This day I have perfected thy religion." Okay? That's part of the Quran. I have perfected thy religion. That's why Islam doesn't change. It doesn't adapt and modify. How can you fix perfection? So this is Islam. This is what Islam teaches through Sharia law. The Quran and the example that Muhammad left, that is basically Islam. It's not that hard to get your head around. What's hard for people to get their head around is that Muhammad actually did these things and told his followers to do these things. All right, so now fast forward to today. Here's Islam, a school of thought that ISIS, Al-Qaeda, other Muslim terrorists, they're trying to live it out. They're trying to live it out. They're trying to duplicate, replicate, mimic Muhammad's life. They want to restore the glories of the first generation, of the companions of the Prophet, as they call them. And then you've got Muslims over here. Do I believe that most Muslims in the world want to do us harm? No, I don't. Most Muslims probably don't even know their own faith. Just like most Methodists don't know their own faith and their own history, or most Catholics don't, or most Baptists don't. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive, but most people watching this show right now who are devout Christians probably could not give definitive answers to some of the most thorny theological questions that have plagued the church since the dawn of the church, okay? Why did we have the Council of Nicaea? I mean, in other words, these are questions that require thought and time and thought. Most Muslims aren't doing that, but the ones who are, they know. They know that what we're saying, what we're showing about them is true. A devout Muslim who really reads his history and reads his theology can look at the stuff we're doing and go, he's got it. He's dead on. He's spot on. But because I say that Muhammad was a false prophet, because I say that what Muhammad did was not holy in the eyes of God, but it was wrong, that's what puts me on the wrong side of them. But at least I'm getting the history and the theology right. So that's what we need to do. We need to focus on what Islam is and then deal with Muslims separately and find out which of the Muslims are good Muslims, the ones who want to actually live like Muhammad did. It's the good Muslims that we have to be worried about. The bad Muslims that'll drink beer, eat bacon, that'll be your friend, that'll come to church with you sometimes, they won't disrupt the service, those are bad Muslims. Those ones aren't the ones we have to worry about. It's the ones who say, wow, what Muhammad did and said is really amazing and we need to do that. He conquered almost the whole known world at the time. He had a bigger empire than the Romans. Do you understand that the Islamic armies conquered more territory than the Roman Empire? And there are Muslims who read that and go, man, I want some of that. I'm going to go join ISIS. I'll be right back. We'll take a little comic relief and look at Donald Trump and something else. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run it. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. I have to put in a good word for Dr. Ben Carson, but first, as I promised, Donald Trump did in fact host Saturday Night Live. The protesters were not able to keep him out. There was a couple of funny points. The man jumped up at the beginning and said, "You're a racist," and Trump said, "Are you still here?" And he said, "They told me I'd give $5,000 if I would just stand up and call you a racist." It was actually part of the skit. There were a couple funny points. Martin Short showed up and danced in one of the videos where Donald Trump is dancing. Most of it just was not. It wasn't even that funny. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in a while, and I was kind of disappointed. I really thought they could have done better. They didn't utilize Trump for good comedy. I don't know. It's certainly not going to hurt his presidential campaign, and as was expected, their numbers were through the roof. That was the most viewers they've had in at least 3 years. They probably had about 10 million people watching. So those are huge numbers for Saturday Night Live, late night Saturday TV, and it's because Donald Trump was there. Ben Carson, I don't know if you have picked up on some of the backlash from the Politico. I believe it was Politico who did a story on him that said that he admitted to fabricating stories about his time in the National Guard. I listened to Trump. I listened to other news stories. It was a bold-faced lie. It was a lie. He never fabricated. Never fabricated. He did not. Politico tried to insinuate that Trump, or rather that Carson had done this, and he didn't. So over the weekend, this news hit on Friday, and the major media was just punishing Carson with it. Thank God for Rush Limbaugh, who did the research and said, no, this is not what happened, and looked at other stories. Then Sean Hannity had Carson on. Carson brought in $3.5 million. $3.5 million over the weekend because people were so outraged at what the mainstream media has done. I close with this. Pray for these Republican candidates. One of them, please God, is going to be our next president. And some of them would be way better than others, all right? I would love to see Dr. Alan Keyes be president. I'd like to be his vice president. Those days are not happening in the next month or two. That's not going to happen. But I would certainly rather have any one of the candidates that's on the scene that's right now than Hillary Clinton. We need to pray for them, and we need to understand that the national media, only 7% of them are Republicans, and they are liars who want to destroy pro-life Republican candidates. Beware.